Welcome to Ready to Launch, the series where entrepreneurs and side hustlers share their behind-the-scenes stories about how they got started and how they've managed the transitions in establishing, sustaining, and growing their businesses even in difficult times. In this series, I interview inspiring men and women who are models for anyone who's ready to launch an entrepreneurial initiative or passion project. From their stories, we learn how to be bold and execute on our business and life goals. So you're in the right place if you're ready to dream a bigger dream, have greater impact, and live a more fulfilled life. This is Ready to Launch, and I am your host, Fatima Williams. Thank you so much, Sanaya Williams, for being here today. Everyone, welcome Sanaya. Sanaya Williams is creator of the CEO Partner and the Business Automator, where she helps CEOs have more freedom and become more profitable with the right tech tools and systems to run their businesses. How awesome does that sound? Everyone, welcome Sanaya.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. And everyone will get a chance to hear about your story of just kind of start to where you are now. And I will get us going by just saying I'm so glad to have you here because of what you've meant to me in getting my business going. I remember, a couple years ago, like working in the online business space and being really new to it and taking some of your earlier programs that really helped me to see how to lay out the different systems to get more organized with like taking in clients, taking in leads. And even, a year ago, or actually now more than a year ago, working with you and your team to get my first virtual assistant. And she's still with me. So,
oh, yay.
Yes.
That's so good to hear.
Yes. It's a testament to the ways that you've set up systems in your own business to be able to support us that I would say has been really effective for me. So I'm super glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invite, and I'm looking forward. It's just going to be fun.
Awesome. So we'll just jump right in. You know that this interview series is for new and aspiring business owners, and I've invited people like you who've been able to really move through their businesses and have such great impact and also be profitable. But I'd like to go back to a little bit of the beginning. So take me back to the moment when you got the idea to make a shift in your career and in your life. What was happening for you at the time that you decided to start your own business?
Wow. So for me, I started my business in 2011. At that point in time, I was working in corporate at a bank, doing business process management work and project management. And I was doing a lot of traveling, probably like every other week, back and forth to Omaha or some other place. And also my commute to work was at least an hour and a half each way. And then it wasn't like I was just working 8 hours. My days were super long. So that became frustrating. And I think the straw for me was I had a boss that he himself wouldn't follow the process of how we hire team one or how we start new projects. So I had to hire 2 new contractors for a project that was not approved by our product sponsor, to then have to fire them 2 weeks later because there was no funding for the project that was not approved. And before I wanted to hire these people, I told him it doesn't make sense to do it now until we actually have the funding. And he's like, no, hire, we'll get it. But we didn't get it. And then 2 weeks later, I had to fire them. So for me, that was like the straw that broke the back and was like, I can't do this. That's just not morally right for me. I just can't. And I went to my manager at the time and kind of convinced him to allow me to work part-time. So I changed my hours from full-time to, I think I went down to 20 hours a week. So then I had more free time to kind of figure out what I could do, what I wanted to do, whether it was go back to school or start a business. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my story of how I found the time, I would say, to create what I wanted to.
That's pretty bold to say, I am going to go from a full-time salary to a half-time salary. Now, mind you, a lot of people who are starting businesses will just do this big leap and they don't do any of that. I don't know if I've made that really clear on the podcast. That is not what I am telling people to do. I'm more of a look before you leap kind of person. But it's a bold move still to say, I will drop down my hours by half, or I will drop down my salary by half. At that time, what made you confident enough that that would be okay, and that you would kind of figure out what the next steps would be?
Yeah. So for me, I had been playing with, I think for years, I've been playing with different business ideas. So I felt like I had these ideas in my head. I just never executed or didn't know which one would work. And I didn't immediately cut down my time. It was a gradual process. So I found myself a business coach during that time period before I cut myself down in half. I found a business coach, and it was just random. I was going to networking events after work and just seeing what this whole space was of online business, because I knew nothing about business aside from you can create a business and you can make money. Everything in between there, I had to figure out. So I started going to networking events, meeting people, figuring things out, Googling things, doing work, Googling and trying to figure out what the possibilities were. And then there was this one event that was happening that same night that came with my search, and I said, I'm going to go. And at that time, the person that showed up wasn't the person I came to see. So I was like, okay, I'm meant to be here, and so is this person, so let me hear what she has to say. And she became a business coach for the next 2.5 years. And while I was coaching with her, I was able to create a product or service. And that service, I was able to get I think 2 clients at that time that gave me some faith that this is doable. And then we created a process to help me, figure out how to get more clients, how to do the follow-up, how to do everything I needed to create a business out of it. And then it became to a point where I was like, I can do this because I'm creating money, but I need more time. So that's when I went to my boss and said, I want to lower my time. Of course, I didn't say, I want to lower my time because I'm starting a business. I just, we didn't have enough projects at the time because our projects weren't getting funded by our product sponsor. So I wasn't really doing much in the office. And for the company going under 30 hours, they didn't have to pay me health insurance. So for them, it was mutually beneficial.
Okay. Wow. It's like the perfect, convergence of needs, I guess, at that time. So tell us a little bit more about the time period of going from 0 to your first 100,000. And I recognize that that's a span, right?
Yeah.
But how did you conceive of your business model initially and then kind of iterate on it to get to some level of rhythm?
So it's funny because what my business looked like then is definitely what it does not look like now. It looks completely different. But my first 0 to 100K, it looked like me doing a bunch of different things to kind of see what worked. Doing it strategically, not just throwing spaghetti on the wall. I always had conversations with people that I thought were my ideal clients. One, to see what they wanted, to see what they needed, and to see what their problems really were, and if I had a solution to fix it. I always started there. I always kind of was clear on who I wanted to work with. It was the how I could serve them is the piece that I, in that period of 0 to 100K, had to get clear on. So for me, I did a lot of, I don't know if you want to call it barter work, but I guess that's the easiest way to say it. I would find people that would be my ideal clients that had communities, different lists, or, a great network of my ideal clients. So for example, I went to someone in this mastermind group that was an ideal client for me and said, I would love to be able to help you hire your new assistant and train them in return, the services are good, you could send out an email to your list on my behalf, like recommending me, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that about 3 times in a span of, I think, 6 months. And that helped me get an additional 3 or 4 new clients.
Okay.
Yeah, even better. I would even say even better than just getting clients. It helped me have a lot more conversations with my ideal clients so that I could figure out what services I could offer to my ideal client. So I feel like having the conversations was actually more valuable than the actual client, because that helped me create more services. Don't get me wrong, the clients are good because they were paying and it helped. But the conversation was also important for me because I was in the very beginning and really didn't know what I was creating for my services yet.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because we talk a lot about like knowing your ideal client and their needs. And I wonder then for you now, like how has your ideal client changed from then to now?
The saying that you're just a couple steps ahead of your ideal client. Have you heard that?
Mm-hmm.
So my ideal client has grown with me, and has morphed into a whole nother person. Like I have 2 kind of clients for I guess the 2 different arms of my business. So for the agency side of my business, when I first started, it was someone who was just with me, 0 to 100,000. But I was helping them get through the pain point of getting themselves more time. Like I found myself time by going part-time in my business. Whereas back then, my client was someone who was just making 6 figures and they wanted to double that, but they didn't have the time to be able to do that. So the way I helped them do it is I helped them hire a VA and put some standard operating procedures in place so the VA knew what they were doing. And that gave that newbie in business an additional 5 to 10 hours a week. That was my client when I first started. Mm-hmm. My client now has grown with me to be someone who is definitely making 150,000, and they're itching to get to that multiple 6, that 200, that 350,000, possibly that 500,000. Mm-hmm. They have a VA, but the VA keeps dropping balls. Things keep slipping through the cracks, or they keep just seeing money laying on the table because there's no way for the team to do it all. So basically, I do the similar thing, help them hire a team, help them put processes in place, or we, being me, myself, and my team, become the team for that person. So we've just grown. The ideal client has grown as my business and my experience has grown. Mm-hmm. Because, for example, at 0 to 100,000, the things that you're going to be doing to attract new clients aren't going to be the same that you're doing when you're making multiple 6. You may not be even doing the same offerings, like webinars, telesummits, live streams, even podcasts, things like that. Mm-hmm. People may not do that in the very beginning because it's overwhelming.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So my clients now are doing a whole bunch of different things, and now I have that experience to give that solution to them.
Mm-hmm. I like that because it sounds like a layering on, like as you've grown and your ideal client has grown, they're layering on these different like additional services and things that they're doing to reach out. And we know like it looks really sexy on the outside, but it takes a bit of coordination and like project management and, knowing how different tech tools speak to each other. And trying to learn that on your own is time. You know, and even your assistants, maybe they may know a good bit, but if they're not like really up on how these things work together, that's time and that's money for the CEO. Yeah. So, you have a team of people who work for you and work under your business to help you execute programs and service your clients. But give me a sense of the behind the scenes on how you make decisions on your business direction. Who's beside you with that?
It's interesting. I don't currently have a mentor. And it's funny because today I was having this conversation saying, I think I'm ready for another one. Mm-hmm. I haven't been part of a mastermind or had an official mentor, I would say, for the last few years. And that's just by choice because I was more focused on my life and the life changes I've had in the last 2 years, as you know.
Yes.
So I do think I'm ready for another mentor. But what I have in place of that, I would say, is kind of something similar to a board of directors. I have a handful of accountability partners that I trust with my life and my business, and I meet with them every week. And we go through kind of, I still have the exercise that I do for planning and what is going to happen for my business in the year, what we want to create, what we want to launch, and when. So I have that, and then I have 3 people that are accountability partners that we meet every week, and we kind of help each other with their business. They help me with my business, and they're probably my, like I would say, board of directors. That's who I vet things by. They're in the same online business space. Some of them have been my clients, so they know my work. They're the people that help me kind of figure out what's next, where I want to go, what do I want to do, and hold me accountable to a higher level than I would myself. So that's kind of what I've needed for the last few years. But I feel like I'm definitely getting into another space where I do feel like I want a mentor because I want to up-level my business some more. And I'm trying to find that right person.
You know, I so appreciate this conversation and like your response to this. It's really instructive for me because, you know, when I started my business at kind of early, I also had a business coach, and I kind of walked through a process with the business coach and released that. And it felt a little like, oh my gosh, am I disconnecting? But I knew that I just needed some space to implement. And a little bit of space too to like figure out my own process within the tools and the advice and suggestions from a mentor who, you know, had really reached multiple. She's doing $1 million business, but I needed space to implement and to be okay with taking that space to implement and kind of figure things out or work things out. But I like that you have a planning process as well, that it sounds like you're kind of consistently sitting down to do that. When you do that, are you with your team at that point?
Yeah, so I do a brainstorming session with my team in terms, and we kind of go through and look at what worked, what didn't work, and then I have this like ideas document in Google Drive that we put things in based on, you know, what's happened, what we could be doing, things like that. So we look at that document and pull out, you know, okay, then it's time to create this. And this is the right time for this document. Like, for example, I'm ready to start doing my own events. Like, I've been doing events for my clients for years.
Yay! I'm like smiling over here.
And I was like, I think I'm ready to do my own event now. I'm not talking 150 people, things like that. I was like, it's something nice and small and intimate and, you know, figure out a different way to service my clients. So we're planning one of those for January. And that came up during this planning session with my team. And the person on my team that does sales, she's like, well, this is the feedback I've been getting, meaning people want things sooner, faster, quicker. And we don't have anything right now that would provide that solution. I was like, oh, tell me more. So we came up with putting together this 2-day event. And I was like, oh, I actually like it. I'm excited. But would you believe that it's something that's been in that ideas document since 2015? I have an agenda. I have everything there for it. But the time just wasn't right until now. So be it. It's happening in January.
I love it. I love that you also honor the idea by documenting it and collecting them in one place. That's awesome. And I can't wait to hear more about this event. So you mentioned a little bit earlier about how personal life has kind of taken a front seat at particular points in your business. And I really want to get into this for 2 reasons. So a lot of entrepreneurs or people who are just getting started, they go into business in part because they really want flexibility. They want freedom. They want to start enjoying their lives in a different way. And, you know, when we first met, which was kind of earlier on in your business, you were single and living in the US. And now we're having this call. You're in Denmark. I'm still in the US. But you are mom to a beautiful baby girl. You're a wife. You live in Europe. A lot has happened for you. And what I see though is that your business is actually still moving and still growing. How did you make this shift? Like, how did you have your business like really grow with your life?
Yeah, a lot has happened for me in the past 2 years. So for me, I really had to accept the fact that the last 2 years was not the time to grow my business. The last 2 years was really about stability and consistency. And that's what we focused on, which is weird because when we first met, I was in a space of growing, like get visible, get out there, let's conquer the world as fast as we can. And then, you know, I met my husband and things kind of completely shifted because I did everything in my business in the US, and coming to Europe, business is just done differently. People don't buy as quickly here. The nurture and lead cycle is longer. So things shifted for me, and that made me take a look at my business. And when we came to that period of yearly planning, it's like I just didn't feel the space to create anything new. I literally only had space to stabilize and make things more consistent in the business. So what that looked like for me, I actually had to let some team members go because I staffed up for growing my business. When I met my husband, I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to travel and do all this stuff. I want to have team members to be able to take care of things while I'm off traveling the world. But in reality, I wrote a couple blog posts about this. One of our trips went to Paris, and my business kind of I lost a lot of money because I had team members in place and our processes weren't updated. So what I realized during that trip was that my team members were still heavily reliant on me because I answered a lot of their questions. Mm-hmm. And the reason that happened, my business grew from all, you know, the networking and everything else I was doing. My business was growing, but we were so focused on growing the business that we weren't focused on our own infrastructure. You know, the thing that we do for our clients, we weren't doing for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So I had to take that step back, and we had to create and update our processes, because I say this all the time, the processes and even the team that you have from 0 to 100,000 most likely will not be the same that takes you from 100,000 to 350 to 500. It's most likely going to be different systems, different processes, and a different team. And that was my case. I had to let go of some team members. We had to actually sit down and update and create our processes. I had to let go of some clients. I had to apologize to some clients. But literally for the past 2 years, that's what we focused on. Updating our processes, updating everything. And yeah, now we brought on someone to do sales, and we're now focused on growing again, because now we're stable, we're consistent, we have our processes, we have everyone's in charge of their own area. They have their process to do that and make it work. And yeah, so that's kind of how I was able to feel comfortable focusing on life and not focusing on growing the business. My focus was just different, and I had to not make myself feel guilty for not growing at the time.
That's powerful. That's really powerful. It sounds like a way to balance, right? Like it just sounds like a really balanced approach. Like, I'm still in business. I am still doing business, and we are still here, right? But I am also stabilizing the health of my business and also living life at the same time, and being okay with not growing in an atmosphere where, you know, entrepreneurship, we get a lot of messages about hustle, and do, and what's next. And I think it takes a special kind of leadership to say, here's what my business needs right now. And we're going to put in the time to do that. That's powerful for me as a lesson.
Yeah, I think what you just said, like doing what's right for your business at this time, I think that's super important for a new entrepreneur or any entrepreneur to know. Because I know for me in the very beginning, I was doing what everybody else was doing, or I wanted to do what everybody else was doing. Oh, you're doing a telesummit? I'm going to do one too. Or, oh, you're doing a webinar? I'm going to do one too. But for one, that's not the right thing for my business, because my business never grew from a telesummit. My business never grew at that point in time from webinars. My business grew from referrals. And I had to figure that out instead of wasting the energy on doing what's nice and shiny and everybody else is doing it. Really look at what works in your business and spend your time there. And once you get that stable and consistent, introduce something new. It's okay to just be, in that space.
And so for you, we haven't talked as much about this, but how does social media play into your business? Where do you use it, or how do you use it?
It's funny. I really don't use it. I should say I don't use it for business, because I do. Like, I use it to promote the telesummits that I speak in. I use it to promote the podcast that I'm on, or to promote partners, things like that. But I've gotten one client off of social media, and that one client was because they posted looking for my specific service, and I replied. My business doesn't grow from social media. Oh, I shouldn't say that. My business has not grown from social media. It might change with the direction we're going and the different type of products that we're going to be offering. But in the past, it has not grown from social media. So if you look at any of my profiles, it's mostly personal stuff that I post on there. And I try to relate it back to business. Like, the reason why I have the life I have is because of the business I've created. The reason why I can live in Copenhagen, or I used to live in London, is because I have this type of business. So I tie it back to that, but everything on my social media is mostly personal, or it will be a promotion of something I've done, or promotion of a partner of mine. Because partners are what helped me grow my business, because that's, like I said, off of referrals.
So I'm going to highlight that for all the listeners to know the role of social media in your business. You don't have to follow all of the formulas. You need to make sure it is right for you and where your clients come from. There's so much pressure out there around, how it should be done, and sponsored posts. And I'm like, well, why? What are you looking to accomplish, right? Like, it's fine, but what are you looking to accomplish? And then how does that really tie back to revenue generation? Always kind of tying it back to relationship development or around revenue generation, but really revenue generation being the base of that. So as we wrap, I'd love to hear what 2 pieces of advice you have for people who may want to start a business or have recently just begun.
Yeah, so I feel like you should get to know who you really want to help, or who you can help. Because I feel it's something that helped me in the very beginning. And you know what you're good at, you know what your skills are. Now it's about finding the people that will pay you. Never be afraid to ask questions. Like, I think the best thing I did when I started was I held a focus group. And it was a focus group of people that I thought would be great to work with, people that needed my services, I thought. And I literally just had them come together, and we talked. And I figured out what their issues were, where they were in business, and it helped me create a profile of my ideal client. And I use that profile to this day, because when I'm writing a newsletter, or when we're creating a product, we wrote it to that ideal client profile. And she even has a name. Her name is Sabrina, and everybody on the team knows that we're servicing Sabrina. So anyone that's starting off, I think that's the best place to start. Create that ideal client profile, but really get into their head. And the way to do that is never be afraid to just pick up the phone and talk to someone, ask questions, figure out where they are. And not only ask about their business, find out about their life. Find out what they like to do, what their hobbies are, their family, their kids, where they work, if they had a corporate background, or if they're an entrepreneur. Like, find out everything about them. Question should be untouchable in that case, I think.
That's good.
That was good. That was helpful for me.
Yeah, it's the vulnerable space too, right? It's like saying, I don't have it all together, and that may be one way to look at it, right? Like but it's also like, I'm not going to force something on you. I actually want to work with you on what is important to you using my skills, right?
Exactly.
Versus trying to force great ideas down people's throats or in their wallet, right?
It's true. The other thing I would say also is do a beta. So create something and don't be afraid to have one or two people go through it for free or for a lower price. Say it's a $99 or something or $49 or something. Offer it as a beta test. Ask them for their feedback and ask them for a testimonial if they've enjoyed the program. Ask them how it can be improved and then do it again. It's like, when you do something once, just remember to do it over and over and over and over again, because that's the only way you'll get better at it. I've done it too. I've created programs and launched it only once. But then when I bring it back out of the arsenal and launch it again, it's only better and I get better clients and it gets better results. So don't be afraid to do things multiple times, even if you only have like one person buy it the first time you ever did it.
Snaps. I'm snapping over here. So, Sanaya, you are in Copenhagen. Your business has a presence in Europe. It has a presence definitely in the U.S. I see, your colleagues and clients, and when you do travel to the U.S. But your business is virtual. I just want to make that clear for everyone who's listening. So, how can people find you if they want to learn more about you and about how you can help them to get more hours and get more profitability in their business?
Yes, you can find me at Sanaya Williams, SONAYA Williams.com. And on there, we post new blogs every week and post up new content. So, all the resources are there to help you have fun, get productive, and add something into your life.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Sanaya. I appreciate you for being here and have an awesome day.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining Ready to Launch with me, Fatima Williams, and our inspiring guests. I'm committed to helping you turn this inspirational information into actionable advice. So I created the Ready to Launch syllabus. To get the most out of your listening time, go to fatimawilliams.com/launch and download my free Ready to Launch syllabus today. And as always, I'd love to hear your comments and takeaways from this session. What are you ready to launch and what's your next step? Join the conversation on Facebook or follow me on Instagram at Fatima PhD. Let's get ready to launch.